everybody, welcome in. I want to introduce myself as we get started here. My name is Steve Griffin. I'm a math teacher. Your kids may watch me. I've done quite a few different videos, lessons for all different types of math, all the way from pre-algebra all the way up to pre-calculus. This may be your first time seeing me, so welcome. What I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start kind of adding to my channel a little bit, and I want to help the parents too. So not just helping the students, but also helping with mom and dad at home, because I know that math education is a partnership and both of you need to be working together. So what I want to do in this first kind of new video series that I'm going to be doing is I want to talk about how to choose a homeschool math curriculum. So most of my videos that I've done that I have out there are based on Abeka curriculum, but Abeka is not the only curriculum that you can use. So I kind of want to talk about the different types, what would work good for you maybe in your family and things like that. So let's go ahead, and before we get started, let's kind of just talk about, I guess, like a precursor to all this, and that is you have to know your child. You need to figure out what is your child's learning style. This is not like a one-size-fits-all thing. Not all kids are the same, right? If you're a parent and you have multiple kids, I'm sure you figured that out by now. What one kid does might be very different than a second kid does. Some kids like sports, and some kids like music, and some kids like sports and music, and some kids don't like either one. And that's going to be the same in the classroom as well. Some of your kids love math and it's no problem. They just go on their own. Other kids, they just, can't get interested and they struggle in math, things like that. So make sure that you know your kid before you get started with this. If you need to have your child evaluated, maybe even by a professional, by all means do that. If you need to maybe get help from a teacher friend and say, hey, can you sit down and look at maybe some of this work that my child does, maybe try to help me figure out what is their learning style. Maybe I'll do a video on learning styles, and that way you can kind of have a little bit more assistance from me helping you do that. So why would you want to listen to me? I guess I haven't really introduced myself. I told you my name, but I've been in education for about 20 years. Been a math teacher, been an upper elementary teacher, done some other things, history, Bible, mostly in private schools. We are now homeschooling our children, and I am the director of a homeschool tutorial in my area. I have a undergraduate degree from Pensacola Christian College in physical education and in youth ministries, and then I also have a master's degree from the Liberty University in math education. So I have studied it quite extensively, and I'm currently working on my doctorate in learning design and technology at the University of Wyoming. So that's kind of who I am, what I'm doing, and maybe that will help you kind of understand a little bit. Maybe because I have studied it, I might have some insights that maybe some other people that you ask might not have. But other people, they have different insights than me. Maybe they've been in homeschooling longer than I have. So I'm not ruling out anybody else's opinion. I think everybody's opinion has a lot of merit. So, get different opinions as you're looking at this too. So before we get too far into this, let me talk about this concept of curriculum. Sometimes we think, oh, the curriculum doesn't work, or, I need to find a curriculum that works. I hear that all the time, a curriculum that works. I hate to tell you this, but all curriculum works. Not Maybe it doesn't all work for you, all work for your kid, but all curriculum works. This was developed by people with PhDs. They've studied it. They know what they're doing. Stuff doesn't get printed, okay? Curriculum doesn't go to print. It doesn't go to the publisher if it's garbage. So all or almost all curriculum that's out there is usable by someone. It works for somebody. It might not work for you, but let's kind of get over this whole, I've got to find a curriculum that works. No, you've got to find a curriculum that works for your situation, okay? So the curriculum, all different curriculum that's out there is functional. It just depends, is it functional for you? I'm going to put in basically 3 steps. Okay, we'll do it in 3 steps. Number 1, let's talk about worldview. All curriculum that's out there is going to have a little bit different worldview behind it. I think it's important personally, and I know we're talking about math here, right? But even in math, worldview is important. Okay, Textbooks are not neutral. Math is no different. Okay, some of you are like, well, science, yes, I understand because, it's going to teach evolution or teach creationism, and that's a big deal. Listen, math is very important too, the worldview behind math. And you might say, no, no, math is just math. It's not. Trust me, again, I've studied it. I know what I'm talking about here. Math can be taught from a biblical worldview or a secular worldview. And you might say, well, there's not a big difference. And maybe you're right on that. There's maybe not a big difference like there is in science. In my house, I've made a decision in my tutorial, made a decision. We're only going to use text that have a biblical worldview base. You got to start with that base. Okay. So immediately in my home, okay, Saxon math is out. Okay. It's just out. There's nothing wrong with Saxon math other than the worldview that it's written from. It's written from a secular worldview. So I'm not even going to entertain it in my homeschool. You might, and it's fine, but you have to know what you're giving your kids. If you're okay with giving them a secular worldview, then that's fine. Or if you can manage it in other ways and you can kind of, when you get to something, you recognize it and you help them to see where the math book is kind of teaching a little bit differently than a Christian worldview or a biblical worldview, then that's fine. But for me, I've just kind of the starting point for me is it's got to be a Christian based textbook. The next thing that I want to talk about is the idea of the style of textbook that you're going to choose. So there's really only two styles of math textbooks. There's what's called spiraling. All right, spiral. Basically, the idea is it keeps coming back and keeps coming back. So you will teach a concept in third grade, and then that's going to come back in fourth grade. It's going to come back in fifth grade, sixth grade. It may be 3 to 5 consecutive years where they keep learning the same thing. What that does is they don't have to master it the first time. The first year, they're just kind of introducing it. But by the fifth year, the student should have it mastered. And that's a spiral way of teaching. The second way of teaching math, or the second type of textbook that you're going to find, is what's called a mastery textbook. A mastery textbook, the student is to master the concept before moving on to the next concept. So, for example, you're not going to have a lot of review questions there because the student should already have the concept. Now, they will have some review questions, but we're going to learn, let's say we're going to learn reducing fractions. Well, we're going to learn reducing fractions until they've got it. We're going to keep going. We're not going to the next concept until everybody knows how to reduce a fraction. Then we can move on to the next concept. With mastery, it really never spirals back around, so you've got to learn it the first time. There is another type called the incremental type, and really the incremental is kind of a combo of both, where the student should have it mastered, but there's going to be more review. There is going to be some spiraling in the textbook. And so you really have to figure out, okay, how do I want to teach? Do I want to just kind of park the bus on one topic for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months? It depends how long the text calls for you to be there, or it really depends on how long your child takes to learn the material. Spiraling, you can kind of just go with the flow, if you will, of the textbook, go with the pace, just keep it going. And even though they don't really grasp the concept the first time, you can be confident it's coming back and you will be able to get it on the second, third, fourth time around. Okay. It's just 2 different ways to look at teaching math, and really 3 with incremental. You could kind of combine the 2 a little bit there. The next thing there, kind of still with the types, is the old school and new school. A lot of parents, and again, I have a math degree, okay? I have a math teaching degree. So I have studied this stuff. And I was actually embarrassed that I thought certain things before I really studied it. One of those things is Common Core. I didn't understand what Common Core meant. I thought Common Core was just, this crazy lunacy that the public schools were doing. And it was just, but as I studied it more, I found out that Common Core is just a set of standards that the federal government says. there's nothing really wrong with a set of standards, right? They're just saying, okay, all students in ninth grade need to know this before they go to 10th grade. That's actually kind of a good thing. And they called it Common Core. All right, so it's the common, it's what everybody should be doing, and it's the core ideas. So in math, especially the Common Core ideas, there's nothing wrong with them. Let me give you an example. All right, one of the Common Core uh, standards for a sixth grade student is that they should fluently divide multi-digit numbers. What's wrong with that? Don't you think that sixth graders should be able to fluently divide multi-digit numbers? Yes, they should. So there's nothing wrong with the standard. The Common Core standard, it's fine. Here's the problem. It's not the Common Core that's the problem. It's the method. It's the way that the public schools are teaching math right now. They're teaching it a new way, a different way. They're teaching it by cutting out boxes. They're teaching base 10. They're teaching other things. And they're things that we never learned as parents, right? We grew up learning it a certain way, so we think that it should be taught that way. And maybe you're right. Certain textbooks are going to teach it more the Common Core way, or I don't even like to say that because it's really not true. The Common Core is just the standard. They're teaching it the new way that the public schools are teaching it. Then other textbooks are going to teach it a traditional way that is more of a, okay, this is the way that you and I learned it when we were growing up. To be honest, both ways work and can work. They just work for different students. The new way kids are learning, that they're learning how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay, they're just not learning it the same way that we did when we were kids. And sometimes the hard part is we don't know how to teach them. We don't know how to help them. So if you want to be able to help your child, help your student learn, then you probably should not pick a text that uses the new methods, right? Because you're not going to be able to help them. You're going to be totally lost. So pick something that's more traditional, and that way you can help them out. One even in Christian textbooks, right? Here, Matthew C. Many of you know what that is. It's a textbook. It's a type of teaching though, and it's kind of more of the new way to teach. Some of you know the way that they teach multiplication, the way that they teach division, different things like that. It's different than maybe the traditional textbooks have taught. Well, it's okay because you're going to learn. The kids are going to learn in Matthew C. But Abeka, for example, teaches a very traditional algorithm, standard way of teaching how to multiply, divide, things like that. So maybe that's more familiar to you. So maybe you should use something like that so that you can help your child more. Maybe if you had a math degree in the house, maybe some of you, your husband is a math guy or something like that, or you have a son or daughter that can help out and they know some of the newer stuff, or maybe you know some of the newer stuff, then choose the newer text. It's fine. They're going to learn in both different textbooks. I mean, I say all this to kind of say this to you. You need to figure out your kid, what your kid needs and what you need as a parent. Okay, so you got to match them together. Don't think that old school's going to work with every kid. It's not. New school's not going to work with every kid. New school's definitely not going to work with every parent, because every parent's going to be like, I don't know how to do this. All right, so make sure that you're choosing the right thing that works for your kids and for you as the teacher. All right, the third thing that I want to talk about, and the last thing, books versus ebooks versus learning platforms. Okay, so what is a book? That's what we went to school with, right? We took our books, our stack of books, backpack, the whole deal. Well, nowadays you can put a book, the same type of book, instead of, printing it, you can put it onto a tablet. It's the same thing, except for now it's in digital form. That's called an ebook. Maybe some of your kids use ebooks. Maybe I love ebooks personally. I like to use like a notebook and a piece of paper with the ebook. So I'll take the ebook and I'll look at it on the computer, and then I'll do my work on a piece of paper and with a pencil. So it's just, you're going to have to figure out what is going to work for you. Again, you and your kids here. Now, the other thing is the learning platform. That's kind of the newer one right there. Ebooks have been around for quite a few years. The new one that's just coming out is the learning learning platform. So in other words, you have a platform, maybe they have videos, maybe they have a bunch of problems that you can work, maybe they have little math games, different things like that. You got to figure out what's going to work. I mean, you could really do, you don't even need a textbook, you don't need an ebook, you could just do learning platform. Like if you looked at the standards for 6th grade, you could just use learning platform. You would really have to know what you were doing, but you could do it. Here's what I say. They all work. The research is there. They show that textbooks work, ebooks work, learning platforms work. It all works. Okay. So what is going to be the best thing for you? The best thing for you is going to be what really works in your family. Okay. Do you have the technology at their fingertips that they need to be able to do the ebook? Then go for it. Do an ebook. One thing I love about learning platforms, let me just tell you, I love that the students can get immediate feedback. Okay, like maybe you've seen IXL. Another one for math that I love is called Delta Math. Maybe you've seen these. And when the student puts in their answer, they type in that answer, they get an immediate feedback. Was it right? Yes, bingo. You got a check mark. Move on to the next one. Was it wrong? You got the big red X. We got to do it again. They can even get help right there. They can even get steps that show them what they did wrong. They could watch a video right there that really kind of helps them. So I love learning platforms, but I also love textbooks, okay? And I do like ebooks as well. I use those. So again, pick what's going to work best for you and your family, but you need to know what's out there and what you can pick from. But my suggestion with that, let me take a time out right there and just tell you, get a piece of paper in front of them, get a pencil in their hand, because there are certain motor skills that you cannot learn on a computer. Okay, so if they're going to use an ebook, or if they're going to use a learning platform, don't let them get away with never touching a pencil. Get a pencil in their hand. There's certain math disorders, or certain different motor skill disorders that you can't see if they're not doing their work on a piece of paper. So get them to do their work on a piece of paper. Make sure they're holding the pencil correctly. Make sure that their work looks neat and orderly. Things like that. You can't teach those things if they're just doing the work in their head, or if they're scratching it out on like an iPad or something like that. You'll never see it. So do your best to kind of get a piece of paper and a pencil into their hands. So many options out there. What decision is best for you? I can't tell you that, okay? I can't diagnose your child. I can't say, "Oh, you need to do this, parent." Well, you know how much time you have. You know how hands-on you can be. You know what your math abilities are, things like that. So you're going to have to do something that is really fits your situation. In my home, we use Abeka books. The Abeka system, I think, is the best system out there. I'm just going to be honest with you. I've used it for a long time. I know it inside and out. Their new books are incredible. Let's time out again. Let's talk about new books versus old books. Don't stop buying the old books. Stop trying to save money by buying the old books in math. You might be able to get away with it in some subjects, but in math, don't do it. Why not? Because the standards change. ACT standards change, SAT standards change, the tests are always changing, college entrance exams, all these different things are constantly changing. You have to stay up to date. They updated that for a reason. It's not like, I don't know, okay, sometimes maybe they're just trying to make money, but for the most part, they've updated that book for a reason. Abeka's brand new Algebra 2 book and their new 8th grade, man, their pre-algebra is awesome now. It's really good. So take time and use your resources. Spend your money, okay? I know you're tight with it. That's part of the reason why you're homeschooling, right? Spend your money, okay? Get the newest, latest, greatest math curriculum that's out there from these companies. Pick your publisher and get the brand new stuff that they have, because that is going to be the best stuff that you can get your hands on. And this is your kids. This is your kids' future. Math is the biggest indicator of how successful your kids are going to be. Yeah, English is great, and all these other things are great, but math is the biggest indicator. I could show you study after study that say that math is the number one indicator that will tell you how successful in college and in their career that your kids will be. So Get a good math curriculum, spend the money on it, and work hard with your kids in math, and it's worth it. Big mistake. Don't do this. Okay. And I'm going to end the video with this. Do not change curriculum every 2 years. Don't do it. It takes at least 3 years to figure out if the curriculum is working. Okay. So let's go back to, let's say that you're in Abeka and then you're like, this isn't working. I don't like it. It's too hard. And so then you jump over to Math UC. Well, here's the problem. Math UC is set up totally different than Abeka. They're learning brand new things that totally don't make any sense to them. So their first year or two in Math UC is going to be like, what is happening right now? By the time that they finally start getting it, you're going, oh, this isn't working either, so we're going to start something else. And now we have another problem because now they're on their third curriculum in 4 years and nothing's working, and they're getting farther and farther behind in math, and you're killing your kids, okay? You're killing them. Don't do it. Stick with, remember what I said at the beginning, all curriculum works. Okay, so work the curriculum. Whatever curriculum you choose, stick with it. Make a decision and stay with it long term. I see it happen all the time. Parents putting their kids in different schools that use different curriculum. Homeschool, we're going to do this, we're going to try this. I can't stand it when I hear that. Oh, we're going to try this. No, don't say we're going to try this. We are going to work this. We are going to accomplish this. We are going to utilize this, okay? We are going to make this work. That's the mindset that you should have going in. Once you've made a good decision with your curriculum, once you've done all your study, once you've kind of figured out what you're going to use, long term, okay? Think of it, this is long term. This is a 12-year deal right here, okay? This is all of elementary. This is all of high school. I wouldn't change it maybe once if you have to, right? So pick something and make it work. Stick with it. Don't change it every 2 years. That's all I really got for you here. I think I'm going to do a separate video on some of this stuff. That way I'll try to make it more bite-sized, and then I can get more in to each one and tell you just a little bit more about all these different things. Maybe you have some questions, drop them in the comments, because I want to read them and I want to do future videos that you want to hear about. So maybe I touched on something, you're like, I want to know more about that. Well, just tell me and I'll make a video on it. I'm not scared of any of your questions. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing it for a long time. So I'll do the research if I need to. I will answer your questions. I will help you out. So just go ahead, drop comments. Give me a like. If you know anything about the YouTube algorithm, I need likes. The more likes I get, the more people that see my video, the more people that see my video, the more ability that I have to grow the channel, things like that. So drop a like on that. Show my other videos to your kids. Think about possibly using the Abeka video system that I've kind of set up. And I could be your kid's math teacher. I would love the opportunity to do that. Okay? That's all I got for you. We'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.